Your testimony here today in this court is that they scheduled an appointment with you and didn't show up and canceled it, right?
I would say that's incorrect. They were ended up typing checks and wrote false checks that our team knew, and this kind of all crumbled because you were dealing with a very sophisticated financial institution.
Your Honor, I move to strike this answer and instruct the jury.
Overruled. I'm going to allow the answer to stand, please.
They wrote some checks that, you know, I'm going to ask you this, sir, one more time, and I want you to answer yes or no. Did they schedule an appointment with you and canceled it?
Yes, they canceled multiple appointments, correct.
Did they schedule more than one appointment with you and canceled it?
To my knowledge, there would have been 2 different in-person get-togethers, and then it all became email-driven communication.
How many appointments did they schedule with you? Mr. Nixon, please listen. How many appointments did they schedule with you and cancel?
In my recollection, 2. One was they said they were going to go to Lynchburg. She then had cancer.
I didn't ask you about that. I just...
Let him answer.
Wait a minute. I asked you a very simple question, sir. How many appointments did they schedule and canceled? And you said 2. Is that right?
2.
All right.
Yes.
Now, those appointments and canceled them.
Yes.
And the reason was that Natalie was sick, right?
For the first one, correct.
Okay, for the second one, what was the excuse for the second one?
That Mr. Cochran was in the ICU.
Okay? And then in March, Mr. Cochran was dead, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
To our knowledge, yes.
So now the sum total of your testimony really is that they had 2 appointments that they canceled because of the illness of Mr. Cochran or my clients, and then the 3rd appointment, Mr. Cochran was dead. Is that a fair statement, sir?
In terms of appointments, yes.
Okay, that's all I want right now. The next question is, you don't have any idea about the circumstances of Mr. Cochran's death, do you? You don't know anything, first-hand knowledge about this.
As our time, we saw a death certificate, and that's our extent.
Mr. Nixon, you're a banker. You are dealing with Mr. Cochran and Mrs. Cochran. You don't have any first-hand knowledge of Michael Cochran's death, do you?
Again, I've never met these people in person.
So the answer would be no.
He died, and we were showed a death certificate.
So the answer from the first-hand knowledge of knowing anything about this case would be no. Would that be a correct statement?
In terms of his death?
Right.
I don't know if he died. I have a pretty damn good guess.
I move to strike this, Your Honor.
All right. I am going to grant that or sustain that objection. Ladies and gentlemen, please disregard the last answer given by the witness. Continue, please, Mr. Victor.
Mr. Nixon, you apparently don't like my client, do you?
I think it's been a colossal waste of my time and many others' times in terms of months of going through this. That's my honest answer. So a lot of time, resources, yes.
And that's why you're so belligerent right now, aren't you?
I'm not belligerent, but you're being belligerent with me, and I'll answer the question.
I think I'm... I think I'm done with this witness.
All right, redirect Mr. Truman.
As a banker, would you be belligerent to the people that wrote a bunch of hot checks?
Judge, I'm going to object.
Wait, hold on, Mr. Nixon. Objection has been
I'm
raised.
going to object. This is back to money laundering, money that has nothing to do with murder.
Well, I think we've extended the circumstances a little bit and opened a door, so I'm going to allow the question. You can pose it again, please, Mr. Truman.
From a banker's perspective, people that write bad checks, is that something that would cause you some irritation?
And now this is a comment on my client character, and I object to that.
Well, I'm going to overrule the objection. Answer, if you can, please, Mr. Nixon.
I'm happy to. The only thing we would do is we would properly flag what happened. We did flag it internally, and then we kind of shut down conversations. And so in a way, we literally just follow our procedures and guidelines. And that's what we did here when the bad checks were written, is that we stopped communicating and we flagged it to our fraud department.
The bad checks were written in March of 2019?
Correct, yes.
That's all the questions the state has. Thank you.
And no account was ever open with your bank, right?
So again, I'm not in the operations side. I just can't answer that confidently, given I just don't have the full scope of everything in Bank of America. She could have opened her account and never funded it. So yes, there were checks written against an account.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Truman?
Nothing for the state, Your Honor. Thank
Mr.
you.
Victor?
Mercifully, no, Your
May
Honor.
this
Thank you.
witness be excused.
So far as the state's concerned, yes.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nixon. We appreciate your cooperation. You are excused, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, we'll have to turn off the machine.
Mercifully, no. That's how the defense attorney ended his questioning. He had nothing more. He is something else. I will say, after that little tuffle between the witness and the defense attorney, I felt like the witness calmed down a little, wasn't quite as belligerent in his last few answers. I don't know if that makes a difference. Still with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Jack Rice. Jack, I do think that it was a valid objection made by the defense, and I want you to weigh in on this. He said, Your Honor, I'm going to object because money laundering has nothing to do with murder. And technically that's right. The motive is not an element of the crime. Now the judge said, well, that cat's basically already out of the bag, so yeah, I'm going to allow it. But do you think it's a good argument to say none of the money laundering matters in this case?
Actually, this is useful because that objection actually is exactly what you're trying to tell the jury, right? This is not just about telling the judge that as an objection. It's actually about saying, jury, I want you to remember here, every time they talk about her being a fraud and being a cheat and being a thief, that doesn't make her a murderer. Don't forget that. So his objections are designed for the judge. He's going to lose, but actually they're for the jury, and that's how he wins.
Oh, I think everything he's doing is designed to the jury. His everything he's saying to the, calling the witness combative or whatever the adjective was that he used, that's to the jury. It's all to the jury, to Jack's point, that he's bouncing around this courtroom and he's trying to send this constant message that this prosecution is flawed and I'm mad.
And he's a showman, right? That's part of the job, that you have to do it strategically and well. But if you're representing a criminal defendant, you have to be able to present that, I think.
Yeah, his accent, he was born in Poland. He's been here a long time, though. I wonder if, when he's not in court, he doesn't have such a thick accent.
It is interesting to watch. He's fascinating, and he's entertaining in terms of you lean in to hear what he has to say.